Pull up a chair, folks, because today we're solving a mystery that puzzled me for years. Some time ago, I watched a video of a fella farming over in England, and I couldn't stop staring. Same crops we grow, same dirt, more or less, same honest work. But the tractor was a different animal altogether. Small, quick, narrow as a hallway, flying down a paved road with a loaded trailer like it was late for church. Park that thing next to a big American row crop machine, and you'd swear the two were only distant cousins. And that got me wondering, why? A tractor's job is the same everywhere on God's green earth. Pull hard, run long, don't quit. So how did America and Britain, two countries that speak the same language and even build some of each other's tractors, end up with machines this different? Well, I did my digging, and the answer turned out better than I hoped. It's a story about an Irishman and a handshake, about hedgerows and highways, and about a law that changed everything on one side of the ocean and not the other. By the end of this video, you'll never look at a tractor, ours or theirs, the same way again. But before we dig in, do an old man a favor and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Takes you half a second and it helps other folks find this video. All right, let's start where the whole thing started, with a handshake. The handshake that split the tractor world. Here's something most people don't know. The modern tractor, American and British both, traces back to one stubborn Irishman named Harry Ferguson. Back in the early days, tractors like the original Ferguson, the world's first mass-produced tractor launched in 1917, had a killer flaw, and I mean that word exactly. The plow was hitched to the tractor like a wagon by a simple drawbar. When the plow snagged a rock or a root, the plow stopped, but the engine kept pulling, and the whole machine would rear up and flip over backwards on top of the driver in a second or two. Many a good man died that way. Ferguson fixed it with geometry. He hitched the plow to the tractor at 3 points, 2 link arms down low, 1 up high. So when the plow snagged, the forces pushed the tractor's nose down into the ground instead of throwing it skyward. Then he added hydraulics to raise and lower the implement from the seat, with automatic draft control that held the working depth steady even in changing soil. The implement stopped being a trailer and became part of the machine, which also meant a small, light tractor could suddenly do the work of a heavy one. That's the 3-point hitch, and it's on practically every tractor on Earth to this day. In October of 1938, Ferguson shipped his tractor to Dearborn, Michigan, and demonstrated it to Henry Ford himself. The two struck the famous handshake agreement. No contract, no lawyers, just two proud men shaking hands. Out of it came the Ford Ferguson 9N in 1939, a small, affordable tractor with the Ferguson system built in. But in 1947, Ford's grandson tore up the handshake and kept right on building tractors with Ferguson's inventions in them. Ferguson sued, and after years in court, he won a settlement of over $9 million and went home to build tractors in England. That lawsuit is where the ocean split things in two. Ford's 8N became the best-selling tractor in North American history, over 500,000 of them. Ferguson's Little Gray TE20, the beloved Little Gray Fergie, built at the Banner Lane Works in Coventry, matched that number in barely a decade and later became part of Massey Ferguson. Same inventor, same hitch, 2 continents, 2 family trees. And from there, the machines started growing apart. The land makes the tractor. Now, why did they grow apart? The first answer is under your boots, the land itself. According to the USDA, the average American farm today runs around 460 acres, and out in the grain country, plenty of operations measure in the thousands. Big open ground, flat as a griddle in places, with straight rows running clean to the horizon and hardly a fence to interrupt them. That land wants one thing from a tractor: capacity. More horsepower, more width, more tires, duals, triples, machines that cover a county before dinner. Even our corn rows carry the old history in them. They were set 36 to 42 inches apart because that's the room a horse needed to walk between them, and the American row crop tractor, tall, with adjustable wheel spacing, was invented to straddle that exact geometry when the horses retired. Britain is another world. The average British farm is about 80 hectares, call it 200 acres, and nearly half their farms are smaller than 50 acres. And it ain't just small, it's old. Those fields were laid out centuries ago, odd-shaped and hemmed in by hedgerows, with gates a big machine can't squeeze through. On ground like that, a giant tractor isn't a tool, it's a problem. What that land rewards is a machine that's compact, nimble, and quick on its feet. A tractor that can turn in a pocket and do 10 different jobs before lunch. You'll also notice British and European machines often carry a hitch and power takeoff on the front as well as the back. 2 implements working in one pass, a mower ahead and a mower behind. When your fields are small, you can't afford to drive them twice. And when America decided to go big, we went big like only America can. By the 60s and 70s, we were bolting together articulated 4-wheel drive monsters. Machines so large, they'd need a police escort and a prayer to travel a British lane. Over there, a 200-horse tractor is a big tractor. Over here, that's the chore tractor that feeds the cows. Mind you, the British wanted more pull too. They just had to get it sideways. In the late 50s, an Essex dealer named Ernest Doe answered a farmer's request by joining 2 Fordson tractors nose to tail into one articulated machine with a single driver. The famous Doe Triple D, a 100-plus horsepower when nothing in Britain offered it. Outfits like County and Roadless made their living converting Fordsons and Fords to 4-wheel drive for the same reason. Where America built big from scratch, Britain improvised big out of 2 smalls. And I'd argue that tells you everything about the 2 farming worlds. Because there's the other piece. British farms are mixed farms, crops and livestock together on the same place. The same tractor that plows Monday is scraping the cattle yard Tuesday, hauling feed Wednesday, and mowing hay come the weekend. That's why the classic British machine is a utility tractor with a loader on the front, a jack of all trades. Meanwhile, America's heartland specialized in grain, and its tractors specialized right along with it. Same species, different habitat. Give it a couple of generations, and the machines evolved to fit the ground they lived on. Now hold on, don't wander off, because the next reason is the one nobody ever thinks about, the road. But first, if this video's teaching you something, hit that subscribe button and give it a like. That's the only pay an old farmer asks for these stories, and it helps more folks find them. All right, back to it. The road makes the tractor too. Here's a question. When your grain's ready, how does it get to town? In America, the answer is a truck. Semis and grain trucks do the hauling, and the tractor stays where she belongs, in the field, crawling along at working speed. For decades, most American tractors topped out somewhere around 15 or 20 miles an hour, and hardly anybody complained, because the tractor rarely saw pavement. Britain runs it backwards. Over there, the tractor itself does the hauling, tractor and trailer, farm to grain store, down public roads shared with cars and delivery vans. And those roads are narrow, old country lanes squeezed between hedges that were planted before America was a country, with transport rules capping a machine at roughly 3 meters wide. That width limit had a sneaky consequence. If your implement can't get wider, the only way to cover more ground in a day is to go faster. Faster in the field and faster between fields. So the British tractor had to become something ours never did, a genuine road vehicle. Proper lighting, real braking systems, turn signals, mirrors, suspension that won't rattle your teeth loose, and above all, speed. 40 kilometers an hour became the standard over there, and modern European transmissions offer 50 and even 60 as options, hauling a loaded trailer, smooth and legal, while most American iron of the same vintage was happy to lumber along at half that. There's one more British habit that pushed things the same direction, the contractor. Over there, a lot of the heavy field work, silage, hedge cutting, hauling, gets hired out to contracting outfits whose tractors run from farm to farm all season long, racking up road miles like traveling salesmen. Those fellas pay for speed, comfort, and lights that turn night into day because the machine never sleeps. And what the contractor demands today, the whole market gets tomorrow. That difference explains a machine I told you about in another video, the JCB Fast Track, the British tractor with truck-style disc brakes and full suspension that cruises at highway speed. No American company ever built one, and now you know why. An American tractor never needed to hurry. A British tractor spends half its life commuting. When your fields are scattered 10 miles apart down a hedge-lined lane, the road stops being the space between jobs. The road becomes the job. The law split them even further. Now here's the part of the story that honestly surprised me, folks. The law. In 1959, Sweden became the first country in the world to require safety cabs on new tractors because rollovers were killing their farmers. The year that law passed, 34 Swedish drivers died under overturned tractors. One small country, one single year. In the 4 years after, with protective cabs on, they lost one man, and he jumped out of the cab on the way over. The fellow who stayed put beside him walked away. You won't find a cleaner argument for a piece of steel in all of engineering. Britain saw those numbers and moved. In one 10-year stretch, 423 people in Britain had been killed by overturning tractors, about a third of all their farm deaths, the single biggest killer on the British farm. So Parliament acted. From September 1970, every new tractor sold in Britain had to have an approved safety cab, tested by being loaded and struck to prove it could carry the weight of the overturned machine. Then they went further. From September 1976, that cab also had to be quiet, no more than 90 decibels at the driver's ear, because a bare cab actually traps engine noise and can make it worse. They called the new generation Q cabs for quiet, and just like that, British farmers were riding in sealed, weathertight cabins, while a cab was still a luxury most other places. And Britain didn't stop at new machines. By September of 1977, even older tractors had to wear a safety cab if a worker was going to drive them. They went back and armored the whole fleet right down to the gray-haired iron. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. A safety law turned into a comfort industry. Once every British tractor had to carry a quiet cab anyway, the makers started competing on how nice that cab could be. Better seats, better heaters, better visibility. That head start is a big part of why European cabs earned the reputation they still carry today. America went another road. OSHA brought in rollover protection rules in the 70s too, but they only ever really covered hired workers, and small family farms were largely exempt. A man on his own farm could drive whatever he pleased, and plenty still do. To this day, roughly half the tractors working American farms are estimated to lack rollover protection, and tractor overturns remain the leading cause of death in American agriculture. That's why you'll still see old American tractors running bareheaded, while in Britain nearly everything wears a cab. And the law kept shaping the iron right up to now. Since 2014, new American tractors have run under the EPA's Tier 4 emissions rules, which slashed nitrogen oxides and particulate matter and brought in the diesel particulate filters and exhaust fluid we all got acquainted with. Europe's Stage 5 standards, phased in from 2019, push even further, adding limits on the sheer number of soot particles an engine can emit. Different laws, different machines. Every tractor is wearing its country's rule book, whether it knows it or not. 2 families, 1 bloodline. So the land, the road, and the law pulled the machines apart. But let me tell you about the British tractor family, because these names deserve knowing. There was the Ferguson Major, built at Ford's giant Dagenham works outside London. The heavyweight that did the plowing on Britain's bigger farms, unveiled in its empire blue paint at the Smithfield Show in 1951. There was Nuffield, the bright orange tractor built by the Morris car empire, the same outfit that built half the cars on British roads, which turned blue in 1969 and became the Leyland. There was the Massey Ferguson 135, the little red machine a whole generation of British farmers learned to drive on, sold by the 100,000. Ask any British farmer over 50 about his first tractor, and odds are you'll hear that number. Even the factories tell the story. Ferguson's Fergies rolled out of Banner Lane in Coventry, a converted wartime aircraft plant, beating swords into plowshares about as literal as it gets. And my favorite, David Brown, the Yorkshire gear makers who built Ferguson's very first production tractor back in 1936, the first production tractor in the world with that hydraulic 3-point linkage. Here's the kicker. That same David Brown bought Aston Martin in 1947 and ran it on the side. The DB in the DB5, James Bond's car, stands for David Brown. The same initials on a muddy farm tractor and the most famous spy car ever built. Chew on that one at the coffee shop. But here's the twist ending. The 2 families never really separated. David Brown Tractors was sold in 1972 to Tenneco, the company that owned Case, so a Yorkshire legend flows in the blood of Case 1H to this day. And Ford's British tractor works at Basildon, opened in 1964. It's still turning out tractors right now, painted New Holland blue, and plenty of them shipped back over here to America, working ground within sight of the big green machines they grew up apart from. So, there you have it. Why are American and British tractors so different? Because a tractor is a mirror, folks. It reflects the land it works. Big and open, or small and hedged. It reflects the roads it travels or doesn't, and it reflects the laws of the country that built it, from safety cabs to clean air. The American machine grew huge and powerful because nothing stood in its way. The British machine grew quick, versatile, and comfortable because everything did. And I'll tell you what I take from it. There's no such thing as the best tractor, only the best tractor for the ground under it. Harry Ferguson's 3-point hitch is bolted to both families to this day. The bloodline never broke, only the branches bent toward different suns. So the next time somebody at the coffee shop tells you his iron is better than the other fella's, do me a favor and ask him one simple question. Better where? Because the same machine that's king in Kansas would be a caged bull in a Yorkshire lane, and that nimble little British tractor would be plumb lost in a 1,000-acre field of corn. Now I'm curious, folks, and this one ought to fill up the comments. If you could bring one thing over from the British tractors, the speed, the cabs, the handiness, what would it be? And you British fellas watching, what would you take from ours? Drop it down in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you enjoy these stories about iron, dirt, and the people who work both, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It's a small thing for you, but it means the world to this channel. Take care out there, folks.